All right. So this is the second week we're doing this. This is going to be the 911 Cup at Barber, which is kind of an interesting track. It's not exactly the easiest track to do this. Really, just because there's a lot of tricky corners which kind of can throw you off a ton, and it makes getting consistent laps difficult. But hey, that's why you do runs of like 5, 6, 7, up to 10 laps kind of deal. Now, just taking a look at the series schedule, which if we go there, we can see if we zoom in that it is I'll zoom in a bit more, is a 19 lap race starting at 14:15 on 13th of April. So same as last week, basically you just put that into the beta UI and then you load up your session and you basically start from there. Always make sure the weather's consistent and so on, because that's really just a basic thing in terms of getting actually started and getting laps and times and things that are actually useful to you that you can then use going forwards. So I talked about that last week, so we won't really go into much more on that. That should be pretty clear by this point. Might kind of be obvious that I'm not really feeling that well, so apologies on that. I'll probably not be talking that much, but I'll still try to talk through everything. And really, I'm sort of glad that this is a somewhat simple car to go through this week, because it should hopefully not take us too long to get kind of where we want to be. Now, to speed it up a little bit, you can probably see here that I actually went and did 5 laps to try and figure out some fuel usage, just so I didn't have to do it on stream, because I figure it killed a bunch of time last week. And I got 1.843 litres per lap. The 19 laps times by that's 35 litres. Now, in the car, I've actually put 40. Why have I put 40? Well, that's really just as a kind of a safety deal, in the sense that, okay, it might be 1.84 litres a lap in, say, I don't know, 120 track temperature or something like that, but you might find you're using 1.9 in, well, 1.9 or 1.95 in like 65 and overcast or something. And this number was really borderline. I think it actually worked out as like 34.9 or something. So it was going to be really tight anyway for this weather. So I figure just add 5 liters. Okay, it's probably too much, but you can always take it out after doing a couple of races. You can't add fuel in the middle of your race. I mean, you can, but it's disastrous to do it on something like this where you can get there without needing to. A couple of other things I quickly went through. Haven't made any changes to these. I just went through them to kind of get some ranges and stuff. Now, it's a pretty simple car, as you can see. You basically have the one chassis page and then the one tire page. Tire page is literally just air pressures, and the chassis page is basically your normal kind of setup deal. But there's not a lot on it. You can really only kind of change alignment, alignment, ride heights, and wing, which really is where the speed is, and then you've got the ARBs, really, which I guess is mainly your balance tool. So got it down to 40 liters now. I have done a couple of laps, and really, one thing I noticed was that the thing has a ton of understeer, like an almost ridiculous level of it. It's been a while since I've driven this car, but wow, I was surprised it was really bad. But now that we've got 40 liters in it, we'll go run a couple of laps. I will actually just pull up my spreadsheet real quick. I have to go find that. For some reason, I didn't have it open. I didn't have it open already, but never mind. Okay. With it being like 1 minute 30 laps, we might restrict this to about five laps should do it. So we'll go baseline 40 liters. and then we'll try and get 5 consistent on that, and then we'll go from there. Also, I've tried to update some of the overlays a bit, so it's a bit more easier to kind of see the full screen and everything that's going on. As I said in kind of previous weeks, and well, the previous week, I suppose, and also on the forum, is that if you want to ask questions in the chat, I'll read them. I'll kind of try and give you an answer on it. There really is a ridiculous level of understeer on the baseline setup, though. Like, okay, maybe I've not driven this thing in a while, but it definitely didn't drive like it had a snowplow for a front end the last time I drove it. One interesting thing I forgot to mention is that I put the rear height sort of limits up on screen along with the other stuff, and I noticed that on the baseline the rear height is basically as minimum as it can go. It's at 100, and then you can go up to 130, so I'm thinking that could be responsible for this absolutely hellacious lack of turn. I mean, like, look at that. That's absolutely ridiculous. One thing I would say is I'm really not concerned at all about if any of the laps are with incidents or not, because frankly it just doesn't matter. The first priority with something like this, where it just literally won't turn at all, is to kind of first figure out if it's, well, not to put too fine a point on it, but if it's you. And I kind of considered that it might be me, but I still gotta believe that this thing should rotate better than this.
25.8.
I think I might actually just do 3 time laps. I'm thinking I can tell enough from this.
Minute 25.78.
Alright. So yeah, completely just ridiculous lack of turn right there. But I will log the laps regardless. Guess you could hide a few more. So again, kind of same as last week. I'm going to completely ignore the 1 at the beginning because we're so close. Well, we're so dead in the middle of the minute range, it doesn't really matter. Now on here I've got wing position as being my first thing, then front and rear heights, then air pressure, camber, toe. I think based on how badly that thing turns, the first thing I'm going to do is front heights are at 79. We can go as low as 78. I don't think that's really going to matter, but our rear heights are at 101. I'm going to lift that up to 110, which seems like a huge change, and it really is, but that thing is so ridiculously tight, it's just stupid. What was the cambers before? 2.8 and 2.5, okay. So I always try and get all the alignment back to basically what it was. Just because then that way you kind of get in a fair comparison. That is a lot of rear toe though. Because it's like a summed +5. Seems a lot. But let's try that. Hopefully that'll do something, at least. Hey man, thanks for watching. Apologies if I sound really bad. I kind of feel really bad. Yeah. It could be better, but I wanted to do this anyway, so, you know. Okay, so why did I raise the rear up 10 mil? basically, the more rake you have in the car, the more it's going to want to rotate. Like, in the middle of the corner. It also does shunt downforce forwards on the more downforce dependent cars. I don't really think that this is that dependent on aero for that to really make a big difference. But really, higher rear height just gives more rotation. And conversely, lower rear height gives less. The first thing I noticed is that it's now way more edgy on the brakes, which is not really a good thing, because that's not really what I was going for.
Minute 25.66.
For example, that corner is really interesting now. It does rotate better, but not enough, really. And certainly the braking instability makes me not want to go any further on that change.
Minute 25.65.
Still just not rotating near enough. Like right there, like kind of on direction change and right in the middle of corners.
minute 25.61.
Right, okay, the reason I got the tire box open is because I forgot to mention pretty much the last run, really. Now, if you look at the wear, you can see that the fronts are basically wearing about 1% more than the rear. That's a decent indication that the balance is tight. So, keeping that in mind, I'm going to exit out and look at what I've got for that 3-lap. Kind of still the same, which is pretty much how it felt, really. The interesting thing to me is that the inside temps are actually hotter on the rear. And I'm kind of not really sure what it is. But overall better, but not better enough. It's certainly not better enough to keep going on that direction. But I will log the times again. I always forget to do that. So yeah, it's clearly faster, but I wasn't really a great fan of how that was. Now, given that it's kind of the tightness is basically in the dead center of corners, and you can see it really near the very end of the lap. That long right is really bad. So I guess what I will try is what we got. For the moment we've got 3 ARB in the front, 4 in the rear. We could go up to 7 on both. I'm just gonna drop. Okay, I can't drop the front anymore. Cool, sweet. I'm going to take some rear toe out, but I'm going to also move my front bias up to 46. So we were at 2.6 rear toe. I'm going to go down to 1.6 on that, which might be death, but we'll see. Now I'm going to take the front down to 0.5. Now the reason I'm taking the front down as well is basically because I don't want, like, turn-in isn't the problem, really. I mean, it's not great, but it's more that the thing just doesn't want to rotate in the middle of the corner. And hey, Carl. So we will try this, and we will go again. If this doesn't work, then the next thing I will try is probably anti-roll bars. The thing that makes me sad about this car the most, though, is that this, when it was released, was really good. Even with baseline setup, I feel like it was a really good car. And I guess there was an update to it for whatever reason, and I don't think it's made it better. So why did I take rear toe out? Basically because the more rear toe is more stability. And that's kind of what I don't want right now. So what I'm hoping is that basically it gives me more rotation from the rear of the car to take that out. And as I mentioned last week, I'm also not a great fan of running any more toe than I need to, because it starts to hurt your straight line speed. Well, that's better, I think.
One minute 25.56.
I kind of missed that by a mile, but oh well. I feel like I'm really bad, like, driving-wise through that section because I feel like you want to be off the brake so that you can actually rotate through those corners. But it's unnerving to do that because it's downhill, and as soon as you take your foot off, you actually start gaining speed.
One minute 25.54.
I feel like I probably use the curbs a lot more than I am doing.
1 minute 25.51.
Yeah, well, that felt better again. Mainly just because it felt like the car actually wanted to turn some, which was nice. You want to save that now, I guess? I call it 2019. Yeah, season 2, yeah. I definitely think I'm overfilled on fuel, but hey, I can always take some out. So that was... So... It's technically plus 1 millimeters because, like, well, actually, no, it's not. It was -1 rear. It was F-toe plus 1, R-toe -1, I guess. Yeah, that'll do. Now, before someone screams at me, I'm actually going to shuffle the order again, and I'm gonna go for the obvious thing and change the front camber because I know I can go up on it, and I know that it's going to give me more turn. So let's just do that. How high can we go? Okay, we can go 4.2, so that's cool. So we'll do 4.2, and then we'll set the heights back. So we went, well, 4.1, but we went from, actually, hang on a second, toes changed. Yeah, okay, so I need 0.5 front toe. So basically we're adding a degree of front camber. Why are we doing that? Well, basically trying to get more bite from the nose. Is it going to hurt anything else? Well, yes. It's probably going to make braking worse. But I'm hoping that we're going to get a net gain that it'll offset that just because of all the long, well, the relatively long corners we got. So why did I make that change instead of changing the bars like I said I was gonna? Well, basically because changing the bars is not really going to do anything other than change the balance, and I want to go down the route of messing with the camber anyway. Now, the more camber you add at the end of the car that you're working on is basically going to give that more grip in high speed. So, by extension, more front camber for the high speed corners should actually give me more grip, and it should mean that it rotates better in those scenarios. Downside being that it'll be worse on the brakes. I'll probably need to mess with brake bias again. The bars would have changed the balance, but if you can change the balance and gain grip at the same time, why not do it? Now, yeah, adding more camber is going to increase tire wear, but the thing you got to keep in mind is how long the race is. The race is only 19 laps. It's not really long enough for that kind of thing to matter. Now, if you say doing an endurance race where you want to run the same set for like 2 hours, then yeah, you probably want to think more about if the camber gain is actually worth it. Versus how the tire drops off. It's definitely better through that section. Missed that by an absolute mile. Yeah, okay. So, I was expecting to pick up some time. I actually really wasn't expecting a half-second gain.
0.08.
But you can sort of see now why the whole thing about Camber has become a huge thing on this in recent times, just because if you can get half a second a lap in performance just by changing one thing, that's somewhat ridiculous.
Minute 25.13.
Actually pretty good now. My question would be though, why does the iRacing baseline not have the cambers maxed out?
Minute 25.13.
Okay, well that was definitely faster by a lot. That was about, on average, probably literally about half a second a lap faster. So, we're kind of maxed out on that now. But, it gives you a good idea of, hey, always do that first. Before you do anything else, I guess, on this car. Camber. Alright, well, given that was such a massive gain, I guess the next obvious thing to do is mess with rear. So what have we got for rear? 2.7. Kinda, well... Okay, let's try, well, let's, first off actually, let's save that, because we know it's good. And let's try, right, what we're going to do is we're going to try 3.5 rear. You have to remember to reset ride heights. Annoying. Okay. Now, the 97s, right, okay. Just gonna hop back so I can remember what the rear toe was. So the rear toe was 1.7. Given that adding more rear camber is going to add more rear grip, I'm actually going to cut some more toe out. I'm going to go down to probably around about +1. So, well, yeah, well, yeah. The reason I'm doing that is because if I'm getting more rear grip from the camber anyway, I don't need the toe to do that for me. We're going to keep everything else roughly the same. What were tires like? 97, 98. Okay, so this is sort of a rough gauge of how I'd tell whether I'm getting fairly close to where I want to be. If you can get the front tire wear and the front, well, if you can get the front and rear tire wear and tire temps to be there or thereabouts the same, then you're pretty close to where you want to be for balance. Because basically you're just wearing everything equally. Now, there's this couple of cars where that's not ever going to be the case, or at least I've never got it to be the case. Like, for example, stuff like the Audi 90, the Kia, things that have got driven front wheels. You're always going to hurt more front tire, just because you're asking it to do two things. I've never on either of those been able to ever have a car that drove decently where the front wear was actually kind of lining up with the rear, especially the Kia. Like the Audi, maybe it's possible. The Kia, it's definitely not going to be possible because the rear wheels are literally just kind of hanging on. They're not doing anything. Sorry, I just had to sneeze right there. Oh, actually, did I make sure that I actually changed the screen back? I don't think I did. Nope. Okay, now we're good. So where this should be better is really in kind of high-speed corners and that last long right-hander, and where it should be worse is basically the slow corners where you're getting on the power. So like here it should be worse really. And you can kind of see that it is a little. Definitely need more turn through there.
1 minute 25.1.
At the moment, I'm not really thinking this is worthwhile. Mainly because it's made the car a lot more nervous, and I don't really seem to have gained any significant speed anywhere. Like that.
Minute 25.26.
It's really terrible out of that corner. He just wants to wander all over the track. Okay, sure, it goes faster for a hot lap, but does it really matter? Let's see. So, I mean, you can see, yeah, okay, hot lap, it was a little better, but overall, it's basically the same. It's basically the same, and I didn't really like it anymore, so I think I'm going to revert that back. Now, in terms of what to change next, I guess what I'll try is, given that we're at £22, and you can go down to 20, or you can go up to 30. Let's just try it at £20. You can actually do 19.5s in the rear, so let's try that. Okay, so it's a case of why try that, and you'll fail tech inspection. Because that always happens. Why lower air? Well, basically just because it's in as simple a terms as possible. The lower you can run your air pressure, the more grip you're gonna have. It's just fundamentally how this tire model works. And that's why a lot of the limits are actually really, I want to say, high. Like, you're not allowed to do silly things like go down to like £10 or things like that. Presumably because you keep getting faster. Well, let's just see how this goes. The other reason I'm kind of skeptical about that rear camber deal is because in general I found that a lot of road cars seem to like having really no more than 4 degrees of front camber and then not really any more than 2.5 rear. That was really bad by me, not really the car.
1.
The thing with the lower air pressures is you're more likely to kind of see the benefit on the longer runs rather than the short, which makes it difficult to sort of get that across only doing 3-lap runs.
Minute 25.12.
And you can kind of see there how it gets better the longer we run it.
1 minute 25.04.
So I'm probably going to stick with that, even though I know the times are going to come out saying it's worse. But the times are going to come out saying it's worse because I colossally screwed up the first lap at the very end. Still kind of wearing fronts a little bit more. I got a plan for that. Yeah, so you can kind of see that the first lap really killed it. Like if the first lap had been like a 25.2 or something, it would have been quicker, but never mind. Still feel like it needs more rotation and kind of high speed corners. So I guess I will play with the wing some. Although I don't really think the wing has that much authority in this car. Might bump the rear camber to 3. Maybe 3.5 was too much. we'll put the toe back to 1.4. Now the wing's at 4, and it can, I think. Okay, it can go to 9. Gotta try cutting that down. Let's try cutting that down to 2. Actually, no. Let's just try it at 1. Let's go all the way and see how it goes. And hey, Snaps. You too, Bowling. I didn't see you coming here. So by rights, we should have faster straight line speed, but the rear should be sliding around more. From an arrow point, anyway. I'm kind of hoping the two things will sort of cancel each other out with the camber and the wing position. Although maybe not. There's still a lack of rotation through that long right, which even the wing being down doesn't seem to have solved. I might even go as far as to say that it feels like the wing has done nothing. Other than mean that when it does step out, it's now incredibly unstable. Like there.
Minute 25.14.
There I kind of felt like the wing, or lack of it, was a bit of an influence, because I stood on the gas and I sort of expected it to push and it actually didn't. It started to slide wide.
25.19.
But like it was the front that, not the front, it was the rear that started to give up, not the front. Oh hey, we're wrecking. But it's really unstable now. So I guess I'm not going to record any times for that, given that I completely looped it. But I think I need the 1.5 rear toe, basically just for some kind of stability on the brakes. I think I actually touched the grass. And yeah, I knew it was going to happen eventually. I'm surprised it hasn't happened earlier, actually. This is sort of the third video of this, and that's the first time I've actually looped it around. Was I at more than 1.4 then, I guess? Yeah, I was at 1.7. Let's put the rear camber down to 2.5. Okay. Right, I'm gonna go up on the wing, but I'm also gonna go up on the ARB blades. And really, I'm kind of hoping that those two things are gonna cancel each other out. I suppose now it's happened once where I looped it around, it's not so bad again. The interesting thing so far, though, is that, to be honest, the only thing that's gained me any kind of lap time is just adding front camber. I can already tell this probably wasn't a good change. Maybe not. It just felt bad on the outlet, but now it feels pretty good.
One minute 25.32. One minute 25.13.
Completely missed that, really. But it's just too tight now. Like, it's more stable, but then in weird places like that, it isn't. It's basically worse on corner entry and exit, but better in high speed. I don't know.
One minute 25.39.
Yeah, it's probably the best. Like, well, not necessarily the best sounding car in the game, but it's one of the best. Alright, so yeah, that was not that fast. But it kind of felt like that anyway. Yeah. Spreadsheets is the best way of knowing if you're actually faster or slower. It really is. Like, normally I would do this over, like 10, 15 laps for a car like this. But I kind of can't do that for a stream because it would take like 2 hours to make 3 changes. But for oval stuff, where the times are shorter, I'd literally look at like 30 laps or like 40 or 50s. Like I've got like a whole like this spreadsheet in terms of the amount of that's in this is tame compared with one of the oval ones. Right, okay. So going up on wing didn't really help. Not in a meaningful way anyway. But I still want more turn. Kind of running out of ideas a little bit. I'm gonna try dropping the front bar down to 1. Because that should give me more bite from the nose. Yeah, I mean, you can sort of subjectively look at it and be like, okay, well, it feels better, but there's nothing like having hard evidence to tell you that it's actually faster. Okay, so we'll go down 1 on the bar. I think we'll go... Can the wing go to 9? Yeah. I think we'll leave the wing at 4. Okay, no, we'll up the wing to 5, but we'll also raise the rear a little bit. I'm not going to change anything there. Well, I guess I kind of should add a touch of camber back. Okay, so basically I should now have a little bit more front bite. But I should also have some of the extra stability from the wing being up. And the reason I raised the rear heights was to kind of counter the wing a little bit. But really it was to get a bit more rotation in slow speed corners. There's just something kind of weird about it at the moment. It doesn't turn enough in slow speed corners, and then it turns way too much, like out of nowhere. Like here it's like, come on, turn. Like, you're waiting forever for it to rotate there, and then when you get the exit, it's trying to kill you. And I was looking at the chat. Damn it.
Tree focus. We still got a shot at it.
Track bar. Yeah, I would if I could. You're good, man. I didn't like that anyway, so we're gonna go back on that. I feel like I'm trying to do too much at once, so we're gonna go back to just basic stuff. We're gonna go down to 1. We're gonna do 1 on the front bar, and that is all we're gonna do. And we're just gonna see how that goes.
Minute 25.38.
The front bar appears to do absolutely nothing. Like there, I would have expected with the smaller bar that I would have actually got better rotation there, but it didn't.
1 minute 25.21.
That's so weird. The places where I don't expect the smaller bar to actually make it better, it made it worse.
Minute 25.07.
Like, I really thought that, like, those last two corners, it would have made it better, but it actually just didn't. Which is interesting. The places where it was better, I suppose, was over curbs. Which I guess makes sense, but it's just not really worth that much. In terms of times, it was, yeah. Big bar, less rear camber. Yeah. What my next thing that I was actually going to do was basically, I think the front bar was 3, and I think the rear bar was 4, and I was just going to, like, zing them both, like, way up. Like, try 7 for both. Just to see if it just doesn't like rolling over at all. So yeah, so it's 3 and 4. So literally, let's just try 7 and 7. I'd send it. I guess the question would be, okay, well, why go down on the front bar in the first place? And it's basically because it should act as though it's softer in the nose and give that end of the car more grip. But for whatever reason, it just didn't really do that in the way I thought it would. But the idea that going down on the bar made it worse, and instead, well, when I thought we would have made it better, leads me to believe the car just doesn't like rolling over. So, if the car doesn't like rolling over, try the bars at max, because that should be the least amount of roll. Given that I can't change any springs on this car.
25.02.
It actually feels more stable coming over the top of that hill as well now. This is definitely faster. This driver just decided to totally bottle it in the last two corners.
1 minute 25 flat.
I would like more rear grip out of that corner. Really, that's probably what I want to work on next. That was absolutely atrocious. So I completely screwed up the last lap. But I definitely think that's better. Just on the basis of it feels more stable coming over the top of the hill and stuff like that. And it's faster when the driver doesn't screw up. It's 25.0, 25.0, then yeah, 25.5, but it wouldn't have been 25.5. Yes, I am gonna try some front toe. Just try 1 mil. And really, I'm just hoping that might give me a bit more braking stability.
25.16.
What I can't fathom is why I'm losing so much time in that last sector.
1 minute 25.37.
This is starting to get frustrating. On the basis that literally nothing seems to do anything in this car. I will reload where we were at, and I will try one last thing. And that is basically to... I'm going to add the rear camber back. I'm going to go with 2 mil of rear toe. I'm going to go with 0.8 at the front. And we're going to go with 3.5 rear camber, and we're going to see how that does. But realistically, the only thing that's really mattered is front camber. Which is kind of why I feel like if there's any more gains, it's got to be rear camber, because nothing else is doing anything. Like, the bar settings and stuff seem relatively unimportant, and Okay, air pressure is going to matter on long run, but we're kind of already at where we need to be on that. And there's not really much else you can change. Like, the wing position, going down on it just made it really unstable without making it any faster. Going up on it made it more stable in areas where I didn't need more stability, and it just in general seemed to make it slower, so... Oh, this is the first time we've been faster in, I think, like, almost an hour.
1 minute 24.83. Minute 25 flat. 1 minute 24.9.
Okay, so we could pretty much conclude that yes, really, camber is the absolute only thing that matters in this car. So I guess the thing now is to figure out how much rear camber can we run before it becomes totally undrivable. I thought you only turn left. No, I do some left and right too, occasionally, just not very often. I don't know about that. We'll see. There's enough people in the Peak Series who are plenty good enough on road courses to stop that from happening. Okay, so that was rear camber 3.5. Yeah, it's definitely faster. How high can we go on that then? Save it first, given that it's definitely better. So we're at 3.5. Oh, you can really only go to 3.9. Wait, what? We're at 110. And I click it 4? How does that make sense? So at 110.3, and then I do 4 clicks, and we drop to 108. But yet we're only at 3.6. And the toe change, really? So I presume if I start with lower ride heights, I'm gonna get more camber. I mean, I'm not, because it'll sit down anyway, but it just means static-wise. Either way, we're maxing that. And we had 2 toe, so we're gonna try 2 toe again. So even though I clicked it 4 times, apparently we've only got 0.1 degrees more camber. Interesting. Yeah, there's not on the Porsche. And I've just wasted like 30 minutes trying to change stuff on like everything on the rear end and everything like aero, well, the wing and stuff like that. And then basically the conclusion I've come to on this car is that literally nothing makes any difference other than camber. Yeah. Which I guess once you know is fine because you're just gonna max it everywhere. So it'd be interesting to see how this works now. Gotta have that max rake. I might, depending on how this goes, I might go up on rake. The bit that annoys me is that, like, I literally should have spotted this about an hour ago. Wow, that was edgy.
Minute 24.86.
That was incredibly sketchy. That whole lap really was.
1 minute 25.08. minute 25.2.
That wasn't really a representative lap because I was just all over the place. I don't know, that felt weird though. It just felt out of control the whole time. Yeah, no kidding. And yeah, it is. Yeah, this is a DWC car. Gear mesh, it kind of feels just loose. Hey man, thank you for subscribing. I think you're actually like the first genuine subscriber. Like the person like that isn't Prime, so appreciate it, man. Thank you. Tried setting this car up with camber controlling rotation at exit. Well, basically what I found is that max front camber is definitely what you want seemingly everywhere because it just gains you grip. And then I'm kind of at the max. I'm at max rear camber now. Although what was weird was that I went up on the camber by 4 clicks, but then when I reset the height, it only gives you an extra 0.1 degree. So that's kind of weird. And thank you, Gearmesh, for the Prime. Appreciate it. Yeah, like they're all like if you go to the settings tab, you'll be able to see like what the loyalty emote like badges are. I figured people would like those. Right, so that felt really edgy, but I don't know whether that was necessarily better or worse. Like the lap times will show it was worse, but that was mainly because I was kind of all over the place. I think potential-wise, it's basically the same. But I am going to reload what I had. And I'm going to go... Actually going to reverse a change I made right near the start where I went up on rear heights to 110. I'm going to try going down to 105. With lower camber in the back. Yeah, it kind of does. But what I've also... Actually, hang on a minute. No, you said with lower camber. So like you're meaning like negative 2.5 or something like that. Well, what I found with that is that it feels better coming out of corners. Although the speed is basically like the difference between 2.5 rear and 3.5 rear was basically that. Even though the 3.5 rear feels worse coming out of the corner, the time suggests that there's actually still more grip. Like there's if you look at, I want to call it turn 4, where it's sort of a double left. When you come out of that corner, it feels like the rear is sliding, but when it slides with 2.5 camber versus when it slides with 3.5 camber, it goes well. It grips up better with 3.5, and it's just a bit weird. And the 3.5 stuff gains a ton of time on the back half of the course, where it's all kind of mid to high speed corners. So all you can really gain is mechanical grip in this. Yeah, you do have a wing setting that goes between 1 and 9, but 1 is incredibly loose without any seeming like any benefit. Like there's seemingly no straight line difference, at least not on a track like this. And when I went up to 9, all it did was it meant that, okay, yeah, it feels like there's more grip, but then when it went, it would go way more aggressively. like you would just snap. And so the baseline was at 4, and I've really not seen a reason to come off that. 9 max rear heights. I can go to 130 mil. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a run on 105 versus the 110 and basically go from there. Because initially, right at the beginning, I went to 110 heights from 100 because I wanted more rotation, and that was before I did the front camber. So what I want to see is I want to see if 105 or 115 is the way to go. So let's find out. Like, this is the corner I was talking about, the double left, where I was saying the difference between 3.5 and 2.5 in the rear. Like, even with the 3.5 sliding, it was still faster coming out of the corner than the 2.5. Yeah, now we're back to like no rotation again.
Minute 25.04.
Like, just no turn through there at all. Negative toe in the rear? Really, you think? I mean, it would definitely get it rotating.
1 minute 25.19.
The weirdness of this is that, for some reason, the lower rear height is consistently faster in Sector 4. I'm not really sure why that would be.
Minute 25.24.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't, like, terrible, but it just lost the rotation in the middle. So I will try 115 heights. I'm gonna log that, though, anyway, just so that there's a comparison on there that can be seen easy. Yeah, I can believe that. I'll try the rear height first. I'm probably gonna have to wrap up fairly soon, though. Mainly because I got super late model race. Not that far off. But we've probably got time to try a few more things. I mean, even regardless of all that, still picked up from where we started, which is baseline 40 liters, was average 25.85, and then the fastest thing we got is 24.91. So like, it seems weird that, like, okay, screwed around with a lot of things for a long time, but fundamentally picked up nearly like a second, which is a lot for a car with not many things to change. So what I'm probably going to do here is probably going to run this as 115, and then if this is better, then I might just call it. Whereas if this is kind of a wash, then I'll try one last thing with the rear toe. Either way, we're probably looking at 2 or 3 more runs. Hey, no kidding, exploit. I mean, it has helped the rotation, but honestly, this is about literally as loose as I can handle.
One minute 25.17.
We just seem to have lost a ton of grip as well. Like, it feels like I've got, like, shopping cart wheels on the back.
One minute 25.17.
Like, I don't know if it's coming across in the video, but I'm having to make constant corrections even down the straights to keep it going in a straight line. Yeah, I feel like it's possible that there's potential in the direction, but it needs something else to go with it. Like, I feel like you'd have to
25.2.
soften the rear bar or something. I guess with what we've done, just everything works decently around 110 and then breaks when you move away from it. It's kind of interesting because not many cars are like that. You'll find where you'll just go one direction and it just goes better and better. Yeah, like seriously, could you see it down the straights? Like, it literally felt like I was wandering along. Did you know that if you ran front heights at max, you gain extreme amounts of camber? Yeah, I did, but only on the very last, well, on the very last race of when that was happening. Okay, so we will log those laps. We kinda did that order, but what I might do at the end of this is kind of do like a quick notes thing for the forum. I mean, I know it's gonna be slower, yeah. It's interesting though that both going up and down 5 mil either way, both made it slower. So I guess that's either you just build around a point that you pick, or like really 110 is where you want to be. If 110 is where you want to be, I've completely lucked into that because I did that right at the beginning. Now, I will try this thing with rear toe because I said I would. Also, actually, I'm just gonna load into the car for 1 second. I reckon there's no way it's 17.6 laps. Yeah, I definitely have enough in this car for the 19-lap race. Alright, so what we got for rear toe now? We got 2. I guess we should kind of work it down slowly. So we'll try 1. Zero. Okay, yeah, fine. I'll do that. Go for a big swing and let's do 0. By the way, this end setup, like, okay, I know you can see it anyway, and I know that there's like not a lot that somebody could just basically straight copy down and whatever, but it'll be on the forum anyway because I'll attach the lap chart and the set. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. I would, yeah. If I take a big swing down to 0, I'll know that. Yeah, I know that if it's actually worth going negative on it. Now, I'm not saying what we're going to end up with here is going to be like the outright fastest thing in the world, but if it's a second faster than baseline, I'll take it. It definitely rotates. Okay, except for there where it just decided it wasn't going to. I missed that by a mile. I was looking at JRT because it was actually showing me proper fuel usage.
Minute 25.35.
I gotta be honest to say I'm not really a fan right now. Mainly because it seems like it seems like it has got points where it's better, but it's made the thing as a whole a lot more unpredictable. Like through there, like obviously I was faster than my best lap, but
1 minute 25.09.
although now it seems to be getting better the longer we run, which is interesting. He says until he does that. My feeling is that that has the potential to be faster, but it's hard to drive like that.
Minute 25.58.
Like, that last lap was poor by me, but in general, that just was difficult. So, I will... Although one thing I did notice is that it made the braking... yeah. Probably. I mean, I personally really struggle with cars that are kind of trying to walk around on entry. I'm just not a huge fan of it. So, that going down on the toe at the rear actually, like, it felt like it made that worse. So, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go the opposite way on it. Like, I'll just try it again, but with it at up one. This is probably the last one, though. Oh, hey, okay, that's max, fine. We'll take it then. We'll try that. And I'm also going to kind of cheat a little bit and take 2 liters of fuel out. So I'm completely prepared to be jumped on now if I go faster, and it be put down to that I've got 2 liters less fuel in it. But anyway, let's give it one last run. Is that a legit setup trick? What, to run not enough fuel? I don't know, man. Go if you go watch the End Pass race from Homestead last year, then perhaps it is. I was flying at the end of the race, and then I ran out of fuel on the last lap. I mean, it's a fair point, though. You really should run as little fuel as you can. Because it's just free performance. I probably shouldn't have just hammered down that, because I don't think that helped.
Minute 24.95.
I still don't know why it does that. I haven't been able to solve that all night at all. Hammer down.
1 minute 24.95.
Now, I don't know if that was any faster, because I feel like I made a couple of mistakes on some laps. It was a lot snugger, but like, it was easy. That's the easiest it's felt to drive. I think sometimes the car heavily loads one tire and then it feels like dynamic camber. Yes, I agree with that. I feel like that happens a ton with stuff where the rear end rolls over. Where like if you come out of a corner and you're kind of not sliding but right on the edge of sliding and then you get in the gas, it doesn't seem as much as though like you start spinning the tire. It just kind of feels like the right rear just collapses and then the car just decides it wants to hook left. Yeah. This is a slightly unfair comparison on the basis I have 2 liters less fuel, but we're putting it in the lap chart anyway. And really, it reckons it was slower than the rear Camber 3.5. Okay. Suppose it was. It was easier to drive though. I think if you run it like that, you have to attack with the car. Yeah. Probably. I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reload it back as it was with the 38 liters. And save that, and then what I'll do is in the forum I'll put a note about the rear toe. Because I feel like that's gonna be preference for a lot of people. I feel like if I was new to the car, I would definitely prefer what I just had with the 2.5. Because yeah, okay, I was marginally slower. Like how much slower was I actually? Like what? An average 0.91 versus a 0.96, 2/10 over 3 laps. It's not really gonna matter. But it was a lot easier. The other thing is, I kind of have to accept that perhaps the driver is not at the ability that he once was. Given that we've been doing this for over 2 hours. Yeah. But really, I guess to wrap up, what seems to be the case is that the number one absolute thing is max front camber with basically a lot of rear camber, to the extent that the rear camber seems sort of tunable, but not really, in the sense that higher is always seemingly still better. Although it seems like once you get to 3.5, you can't really get any more. Like, I mean, I'll show it again here, but like, okay, look, so you can click up to 3.9, brilliant. But then as soon as you click apply, it goes back to 3.6, and then okay, so if you go 2 on the toe, you can get 3.7. Maybe that would be it, you know? Maybe that would be the best. But then yeah, I don't know. Like 3, yeah. Max camber, max toe, and then the ride height that you want. But really, the overriding performance thing in this car is absolutely the camber. If you're running anything other than front camber, I don't know why, because there seems to be zero logical reason to do that. It's just pure speed. Even the rear camber seems pure speed as well, but you start running into this issue in the back where the toe and everything goes funky. The second thing seems to be toe. I didn't mess with the front as much as perhaps I should have done, but it definitely seemed like there's scope for things there as well. I know when I went to a +1, I think I lost speed, so maybe more negative is better. That's, I guess, for you to try. Didn't try going anywhere other than minimum front heights. Just don't see the need to do it. And rear heights, I went to 105, I went slower. I went to 115, I went slower. Either it's just the way I've been messing around with the setup where 110 works best. But yeah, same with air pressures. I'm down at minimums. The minimums are kind of not high, but like after 3 laps, you're at 24s. Yeah, I don't see why you'd really want to be higher than that. And then, really, the ARV, I want to say it's preference, although I definitely went slower when I reduced the front one. And it felt like the car liked having a ton of bar in it. I think a lot of people are building tight sets and then getting the car to turn with aggressive brake bias. Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Because that brake bias I had there, it kind of felt like it was too high in that complex of corners that drops downhill, but's also chicane, the right-hander. It just felt like it didn't really want to cut so much through there. That way they rotate early in the corner and stomp on it on exit. Yeah, can believe it, for sure. And that's kind of where I think if I was gonna try one absolute last thing, it would be to go completely max on that camber, max on the toe, and then put the height back. Like that would be what I would try, and then literally, like you saying, just change the brake bias until I got the rotation I wanted. But I will leave that as some scope for somebody else to try. Either way, fairly happy with where we started. We started with 25.85 average. By the end, really, I'm gonna say we got down to 24.91 average. So yeah, almost full second gain. That works for me. Yeah, I'm probably gonna use this as the base for my Nürburgring stuff as well. But I'm gonna cut the stream now. I will be back in probably about an hour with some super late model stuff. Thank you to anybody who stuck around all the way through. Thank you to the guys who jumped in, made comments and stuff. Appreciate the chat. The chat helps out a lot. I think it adds a ton to the stream, so appreciate Appreciate you guys doing that, and also the subs. Thank you.